Welcome, fellow humans! Today I'm going to tell the story of how I got trapped in a completely empty hallway in my school. So, I was in high school, and I liked to leave my school from the side hallway because that way a little bit more of my walk would be indoors, and I didn't like walking outdoors any more than I had to. And on this day, I probably was running a little bit late because by the time I got to the hallway, all of the other students seemed to have already left the school. I noticed that the lights in the hallway were flickering. This seemed mildly annoying, but not a big deal. I didn't think much of it. I may have briefly considered going out the main exit, but the benefit of staying indoors longer was worth more to me. So I started walking down the hallway, because what's the big deal about flickering lights? And I got partway down the hallway when I stopped being able to function. It's really hard for me to describe what I experienced because there aren't really words for it. It's one of the worst things I have ever experienced. It felt almost like all of the laws of physics had stopped working. And how could I continue walking down this hallway when physics doesn't work, when everything about my equilibrium is not working, and it feels like I've suddenly been transferred into some sort of cartoon world, except terrible? So I was able to keep standing, so I just stood there, unable to move, and tried to figure out what I was going to do. I figured that it had to be the flashing lights, that something about the flashing lights had done terrible things to my brain. And I realized that I could have screamed for help. There weren't any people in view, but there were still people in the building. There were people in the school's office, and if I had screamed for help, somebody would have come to try to help me, and they would have seen a person standing in a hallway with no obvious problems. And I would have had to explain that I couldn't function because the lights were flickering, and that I was trapped in the hallway, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't move forward or backward because the lights were flickering, and I was trapped in a hallway with nothing trapping me there. And I did not feel like I wanted to explain this to anybody. It just made so little sense that these lights were keeping me from functioning. So if there was any way that I could solve this problem myself, that's what I wanted to do. So I knew that I couldn't function while these lights were flickering at me. And I thought to myself, okay, what I need to do is to stop seeing the flickering lights. If I can just not see, it's a straight hallway, all I have to do is walk forward to the end of the hallway and I will be free of this horrible nightmare. So I closed my eyes and I put my hand against the side of the wall and I used that to guide myself, and I slowly walked straight until I got to the end of the hallway. And then I left the school, never ever happier to leave the school than that day. And once I was gone from those flickering lights, I was okay again. My sense of balance went back to normal, the laws of physics continued to work properly, and I was able to function and walk home. And I have never had flickering lights do that to me again since then. But ever since that one incident, I have been extremely sensitive to flickering lights. They cause me pain, they make me feel very tense and uncomfortable, and I am extremely aware of flickering lights. Even during the 15 years when I was legally blind, I was generally better able to notice flickering lights than fully sighted people are. And I've wondered if it's sort of a PTSD sort of response to that one incident where my brain is hypervigilant against this threat. And even though no other flickering lights have managed to do that to me, it's worrying and trying to keep me safe from that happening, so it makes me feel pained and tensed whenever I'm around flickering lights. If so, I wish it would stop, because quite frankly, it's not helping. But again, you don't get to have full conscious control over your brain, so I can't make it stop. Fortunately, flickering lights are often something that people are aware can be a problem for some people, and many things have warnings about them. Unfortunately, a lot of things don't. Flickering lights come up without warnings far more often than I would like. I have wondered why that happened to me, and my best guess is that it's because I get a lot of migraines, and migraines can also involve being sensitive to certain kinds of stimuli. And I have had other weird problems with other forms of stimuli before. I know that people with epilepsy sometimes have problems with flickering lights, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't get seizures, and I'm not epileptic, but there's a lot of similarity between epilepsy and migraines. So that's what I think is going on, but I don't actually know. I assume it was just one weird frequency that happened to exist that one time that my brain could not handle. And I really hope that none of you out there ever experience it. But if you do, you can close your eyes and try to function without vision until it is gone. And that's my story. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please click like. If you know someone who might find it interesting, please share. If you would like similar content, then by all means subscribe. But most of all, if you have had similar experiences, or you have questions, or any thoughts about it, I would love to read your comments. Thank you.